Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Saturday night chat. Hello. Just adjust that a bit there. Get that out of the way. We don't see cleaning materials, do we? No. How's everyone doing? See, we got something from good old Mythos here. Hey, bro, I've got family over tonight, so I can't stage. I want to say that I hope you have an amazing stream on Catch and Play. Mythos, enjoy your family time. That's like the number one most important thing. Go have fun with that. Yes, and please catch me on the replay there, my friend. So, how's everybody doing? Yeah, I'm live right now. Let me just check some stuff here. But yeah, so I want to talk about a couple different things. First off, I got a nice haircut here. Feeling fresh here. Get a nice haircut. Got some of the hair out of my head. It's summertime in the Great White North. We're not very white right now. With no snow, nice sunny days, a nice warm weekend. Time to get the haircut. All right, trim it down a bit. What else? Oh, I picked a bolt gun today, and that is so much fun. Oh my lord! Wow. They did that so well. It is 100% pure, unadulterated 90s nostalgia. Everything from the way, just the pixelization, the 2D enemies. If there's debris on the floor, it moves with you. If you look at it moves with you like it did back in the day. Um, just lots of blasting, lots of getting cool weapons. I've only been playing for a little bit. Already, you start off with the chainsword, now with the bolt gun, a shotgun, plasma gun. All have their own different ways. Taking on Chaos Space Marines, lots of cultists, a couple Terminators, a whole slew of got taken on some Nurglings. Lots of Nurglings. Some of those Nurgle Toads, a whole bunch of Zinchian stuff. So everything's there. It's a great game. If you haven't picked it up, please go get it. Enjoy it. It is so much fun. It's full on 90s nostalgia. I'm not sure why they called it a boomer game. Well, yeah, it's a great 90s boomer game. I guess boomers would have been playing this in the 90s. Yeah, they've been in the 30s. It's like, yeah, I played it. I'm not a boomer. I don't know. Maybe they think they say boomer, and they mean the term of it. Lots of explosions, which there are. It's great. There's even buttons for taunts. Back in the day, and of course they're more Imperial Space Marine, Ultramarine taunts. But it's a ton of fun. So I was playing that a bit today. But I want to get on to what I wanted to talk about, which is inspiration. Inspiration is cool. It comes from a whole bunch of different ways, especially when it comes to the hobby. I was inspired to do something by reading, not this month's White Dwarf, but the last one. They had a whole bunch of stuff on Angron. Angron came out. Angron's he was a big story there. A lot of stuff about his murder curse that went out there. At the end of I think his book, I don't know if it's his Arc of Omens book or one of the ones later. It might have been his, where he released a murder curse and basically took one of the Indominus Crusades and turned 95% of it, except for Custodes and the Sister of Silence and Grey Knights. And trust me, it'd be very minimal amounts of these Crusades. Basically, the rest of it into Blood, Crazy Psychopath. Didn't matter if it was Guard, Sisters of Battle, Astartes, whether they're Primaris or not. Everybody get hit with this, and now you have an entire army just freaking out, devoted to Khorne, just because of Angron's massive murder curse. This rage he just expunged onto the from himself onto the galaxy. There's a whole bunch of articles in there about Astartes calling themselves, like for instance, salamanders, saying this. They may have green armor. They call themselves salamanders, but they're not. They've got horns protruding out of their helmets, extra eyes. They're twisted. They're psychopathic. They're not. They're not loyal Astartes. Handy dandy drinking container. There's nothing good about them. I'm sitting there going, man, that's cool, right? I mean, it's always cool when they give you a story and they as to why you have renegade this or evil that or twisted this, right? So you have twisted, these sisters, twisted sisters, or traitor guard. It's kind of boring. Oh, they went bad because they're blah, blah, but this is like, and this isn't just going bad. This is having the Mr. Fish, hey, how's it going, man? Well, welcome to the stream. Just talking about inspiration, the background for what inspired me. Inspiration is always cool. Like I say, it's always good it's always cool to see why particular loyal forces suddenly go bad in this anger on the murder curse is a big one, right? And these people just driven mad. That it goes on there how they, even though some resistance were easily, quickly just cut down by their frothing psychopathic brothers and sisters. And so I was sitting there, man, that's really cool. 10th edition is coming. We're getting all this cool information. As I'll always tell my Ultramarine army, and as a side note on that, the fact that Tactical Marines are staying, according to Games Workshop, in their own. I may actually have to take those Ultramarines that I put away, tactical squads, and actually rebase them, seeing as they will be staying around. That's just a side note there, but I said, man, like that's really cool, and why not start something small and new for 10th, right? I've got this small little Eldari and Drukhari army that I may get to at some point. I even slam together his Yanari army. Who knows? But I wanted to do something for 10th. I'm like, man, what could I do? I definitely want Sisters of Chaos, mostly Nurgle nuns and such. Yeah, man, those would be cool, right? But yeah, with the Murder Wog, I'm like, man, or the Murder Wog. Murder Curse. Murder Wog would be cool too. They've had Chaos Orcs. It would be cool. What would be cool on that? So I was sitting there going, man, what have I got that I could work with? Now, a while ago, I picked up the Enemies, Old Enemies box set, and it was the model portion of the 3rd edition starter set. So a whole bunch of about 20 Drukhari Cabalite warriors and 10 Tactical Marines and a Lance Speeder. Well, Lance Speeder I'm going to keep for my Ultramarines, but I said, hey, I got 20 Tactical Marines. Just basic, just bolters. That's it. Very basic. What else can I do? And I dove into my bits box, right? And I started pulling out whatever chaos bits I get my hands on. Like, you know what? Here's my inspiration. I'm going to make a Chaos Space Marine list dedicated to Khorne. It won't be a World Eaters list. These aren't World Eaters. These are just frothing psychopaths dedicated to Khorne, but they're not going to be World Eaters. They're not. But a Chaos Space Marine army built fully on these Marines that have they have been taken over by the Murder Curse. And so I started taking, I'll take a leg here, an Imperial leg, an Imperial chest piece, score up the eagle, right? And then throw in some other chaos pieces. And it actually turned out really, really cool. And I have some really old pieces, so I could throw in old stuff to show armor being mutated by the power of Khorne, the warp, and the curse. And it actually turned out really well. And the other cool thing is I actually used the Legionaries data slate that they put in the chaos in they're showing off all the new chaos stuff. So I actually have it built according to the new Legionaries rules, right? I kind of wish we get to see a bit more about the Space Marines other than Land Raider, and the Gullman's cool, but I'd like to see more Land Raider. I wouldn't mind seeing a full Intercessor one or an Assault Intercessor to see what they're really getting. Because it looks like, by judging by this, All Marines are going to have 3 attacks with a close combat weapon. But then if you look at the Astartes Chainsword and Legionaries, it's actually getting an extra attack. So it's 4 attacks with the AP -1. So Assault Intercessors having 4 attacks is really cool for me. That's great. Anybody with Assault Intercessor, Astartes Chainsword having 4 attacks is awesome. It's going to be a lot of swinging. Really good for Marines. But I digress. So what I did, for example, and it's cool because I have so many old bits. And again, that's the beauty of inspiration. It's, again, like, it's different for all of us, but I was inspired. I found like every chaos bit I possibly could. Heads, torsos, legs, arms, bolters, power weapons, chain swords, backpacks, heads, the whole shebang. I even found some of the old mutation sprues from a long time ago. Got a sprue that came out a long time ago. It was mostly used in fantasy, but they also actually had its own package of mutation sprue for the original version of the Eye of Terror campaign, the 13th Black Crusade. The original version back in the early 2000s, 2004, I guess, 2003, somewhere. And so you could actually take it and slam it onto whatever torsos you wanted to make mutants. The list back then, you could have Traitor Guard, some Space Marines, but lots of mutants. And so I applied that to this. Again, inspired by all these articles I was reading in this White Dwarf, about them being mutated and horns coming out and extra eyes. And these were not normal Marines anymore. Any semblance of loyalty or whatever they were before has been completely wiped away by the murder curse. They're completely nuts, right? And those that have retained even the smallest amount of sanity are now leading the rest of them, right? Sort of directing them. So that's what I did. So here's a perfect example. So this guy here, you can see him there. That's a Marine torso, Marine legs, right? You get a Marine backpack, right? And an Imperial shoulder blade. This one here is actually a Chaos shoulder one. And of course the head, the arms, and the bolter are all from one of the old Chaos Space Marine sprues, right? Look, really all on. But it makes sense. He's got a mix of armor. He's obviously gone full Chaos, but he's still wearing his old armor, right? It hasn't fully mutated. I have other ones like this guy here. Now he's got a leg from the old Chaos Space Marines, an Imperial torso, right? A really old Chaos backpack, the old beaky helm, chain sword, and Chaos shoulder pad, but also give him one of the mutation arms, right? And I had him, I posed him so he's like howling in bloodlust or maybe shock at his sudden mutation. Either way, so it's really cool. And again, I did that. Also, this guy here, and this one is actually practically all Imperial. The bolter, all the arms. He just has a single shoulder pad, and of course the mutated head. I like that one because Khorne goes for the big horns, the skulls, right? Like horns, so that works. And here is one of the inspiring champions, or for the squad, or whatever they're called. Is that what they're called? I can't remember now. I'll look this up. I don't play Chaos very often. If I look at him here, I'm actually just looking up here. Yeah, inspiring champion. Now this model is, I'm going to say, other than a shoulder pad, it's pretty much all Chaos-based Marine sprue. Obviously, I wanted him to be a bit more mutated. He's got the, what's it called? They changed it. The cursed weapon, right? It's 4 attacks. Strength 5, AP -2. So he's got the cursed weapon there, a bolt pistol, leader. And again, going back to being inspired, because that's what we're talking about, I built a second one, / he could be an inspiring champion if I want to separate the 5 of them into, or the 10 of them into 2 small squads, but I also went with him with a heavy melee weapon. So again, I grabbed a mutated arm there with a sort of a big flame sort of fire sword thing coming out of it. So it could be in a cursed weapon or a heavy melee weapon. He's got a bolt pistol, This one, again, this is a mixture of old Chaos. The torso and one of the shoulder pads is Space Marine, Imperial Space Marine. The rest of them is Chaos, and the head there, funnily enough, is a head off of a fantasy special edition fantasy model of Harry the Hammer. It was kind of cool because I was coming up with this, and I saw that for Total War 3 Warhammer. The latest edition is Harold Hammerstorm going up against the Undead. Now, Harold Hammerstorm was or Harry the Hammer, as he's called, was a model that came out, God, a long time ago. It's one of the big Warhammer celebrations, maybe 30 years or something years ago. A big Chaos Warrior. Even the video you see him, he walks up at one point, there's some massive skulls with spears and shields, and that's actually the original base he was on, this big Chaos Warrior, huge shield, big hammer. He was just all about destroying the Undead, hate the Undead. I was actually that model. They were inspired by the original cover Warhammer Fantasy Battle way back in the very first edition. You had a Chaos Warrior smashing a skeleton, an undead skeleton warrior, right? Obviously, they look completely different. The aesthetics change on it, but it was cool. So I put that on there. So he's just really a more mutated character with the big, huge melee weapon there with the, I'm not sure I'm going to paint that. I might even paint it up as like a green fire, just sort of differentiate. I don't want blue. That's sort of a Zinchian fire. But again, heavily inspired from what I've read, and I've always loved that about. That's why I'm really such a huge fluff junkie, because there's so much in the stories and the timelines. I was a little sad when the last Space Marine Codex came out and all the timeline stuff was gone, all these little stories. It's like, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences that give you a beautiful little idea that you can go on, right? I mean, I still have my Train of War veterans, and I built up, my Train of War veterans, Cassius, the Dreadnoughts, and the Predator / Razorback, all sort of first company, and that was, inspired by all, as here's a small force of Train of War veterans, right? Obviously, game-wise, it's probably not the most competitive list. It's very small, not a lot to it, but it's fun, right? And it's inspired by the fluff, and there's all these cool little bits. Again, that article talks a lot about Angron, but it's all these little fluff pieces. Different Vox chatter and all that, and writings from inquisitorial agents telling you what's going on. And it's really cool because you can take that and go, okay, oh man, what's happening? Oh, that it all saying the same stuff, that all these Marines have gone to chaos and Khorne basically because of Angron. He's back and he's got such devastating loss to the Imperium, right? All those Marines, the sisters, guardsmen, all of a sudden, this massive crusade to save humanity has now been turned into just a massive armada of raging psychopaths, right? You even mentioned like pilots that could maintain control of their vehicles, only did so much so they could actually dive bomb into the enemy, right? And the rest just sort of crashed because they were just all of a sudden nuts. But yeah, so that was the inspiration. I got another guy here, again with the bolt pistol. Again, this guy is probably the torso, the legs, and the bolt pistol armor all Imperial. The old backpack, the mutation, the helmet, and all that, and the shoulder pad are all Chaos. Yeah, I like it. It's a nice mixture of both. These guys are slowly shedding. Gma, man, what's up? I don't know who took my dice, man. We'll never know. We may never know. That's the fun. Looking next. Oh well, thank you, sir. Buy me dinner first. But yeah, talking about inspiration. I'm showing off these Marines that I was inspired to do. They're actually going to be Chaos Space Marines, although they do have a good chunk of Imperial parts based off of some of the cool stories and background fluff I was reading about Angron's murder curse that he released at one point during the whole Arcs of Omen thing. So here's some Space Marines that are devoted to Khorne. Now, I'm not going to be World Eaters because they're not World Eaters. They're loyalist Marines who've shed their loyalty because they're all freaking psycho now. And we're just talking about inspiration, like that's why I love the fluff, because you can get so much from even small things. That's what I loved about those timeline things. I hope in some way those come back. Just a normal Marine, yeah. But these guys are worse. Like I was showing there, I've got the mutation parts here, right? So this guy here is about, I'd say, 85% just old school tactical Marine, but with a chaos shoulder and a mutated head, right? Mutations slowly taken over. The other thing that I've been thinking about, because this is how to paint them, and because I want this to be something I can paint it pretty quickly. There's a lot of detail. Even these older models, there's still lots of little arrows and skulls and pointy bits because it's chaos, right? So I may do a dry brush special on these again. But the question to you then, guys, what's inspired you? What is your inspiration for for your armies you've done in the hobby, whether it's 40K or Age of Sigmar or Fantasy back in the day or whatever other army? What is the thing that inspires you? Was it a story? Was it a bit of fluff? A character fluff they throw in the books? Was it reading about one of the armies in your codex? So what inspired you to do that? Well, you guys think about that. I'm going to actually take this aspiring champion here, and we're going to give him a quick dry brush special. And of course, since they've gone to corn, we're going to do a nice bit of red. I got the Mephiston red, some Evil Sun's Scarlet, and some ball red washes. We're gonna give this a once over again. I want to try this out, see what color scheme if I like it. If not, I can always repaint it over it. I definitely want to kind of get a feel for where this is going. White Dwarf was a great inspiration. I was younger, way before the days of the internet. Yeah, the White Dwarf was amazing. I'm glad the White Dwarf has gone back to doing that nowadays. There was a time where there was no inspiration. It was a catalog, nothing more. I'm glad it's gone back to that. It's good. The way they used to do slow grows and have limited amounts of cash. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get some red paint on here. Try a dry brush special on this bad boy. See what happens here. A little bit too much paint here. Start here. And we're going to go from there. I'm going to do the dry brush special simply because I want to get the colors down quickly. And it doesn't have to be super neat. It's chaos. I kind of want to look like a bit of a quick job because, well, I mean, when you're a raving psychopath, who's actually painting your armor? You know what I mean? But because they're corn, and I definitely want them to sort of stand out and show a quick allegiance there to the blood god, I kind of want it visually to make sense. Someone go, oh yeah, that's a chaos army. Looks like it's dedicated to corn, and that be done with it, right? I don't want to be sitting there going, oh well, it's because explaining can kind of be a pain in the butt sometimes. Again, inspired by experience on that one. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun doing this stuff. Inspiration, something that again comes from different places. I was inspired at one point when I worked at Games Workshop back in the late 2000s there to do my own a store crusade, or not crusade, but campaign, and have people get involved and do bonuses. And I was inspired by reading, like you said there, Geo White Dwarf. They had a whole campaign thing. I said that looks doable, and did it, and it went off really, really well. People had a ton of fun. The Imperials won in the end, which was kind of cool. And no, I didn't help that in any way, but it was cool. It was fun to see people have fun with something you built. Again, just a little bit of inspiration from somewhere, and you get to do a bit, have a bit of fun. And oh, this is gonna look cool when it's done. I think I'm already liking this. Yeah, I hope, and I also hope that at some point at one point they bring back those timeline things in the codices, so we can kind of inspire more stories other than just I want Army A because it's got cool rule B, right? Which again, nothing wrong with that, but I'd rather know why armies are fighting other than it's time to throw dice down. But that's just me. Gee, how was your weekend so far, my friend? I know it's gonna be early. It's gonna be Sunday there at this point, right? How's things going for you now? Hopefully good. So we're just gonna do a quick dry brushing there. Oh, that's gonna look good. So there is the dry brush so far. I don't know if you can really see that, but that's just a quick dry brush with the Mephiston red there. I'm gonna let that dry up. Sunday midday. Oh yeah, you guys are way ahead of us, aren't you? What is the time zone difference between Canada and Australia? It's gotta be what, 13 hours, 12, 13 hours, something like that. Oh yeah. Oh. But yeah, so that's nice. That'll be a nice base for these guys. And then we're gonna do Evil Sons Scarlet. Wow, you think I could talk at this age, you know? Yeah, where's the other one? Oh yeah, this one was pretty cool. I got obviously threw a melta gun in there, obviously with the new melter rules. I was looking that up here. Got it on my phone. It's easiest way, but yeah, melta 2. So damage would be d6 plus 2 if I remember. Well, not bad. Friday, record 5 years back to back, so I just need to edit. Yeah, I saw you on Frost and Fist there. Yeah, that was fun. It's always good to see you guys together at Bit Dinner. Oh, no live stream. Awesome. Good for you, man. You're all over the place. Busy, and it's paying off. I've been seeing your numbers jump up there. It's good to see, man. I'm really happy for you. You start a painting video. Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna do some showcases on these guys once they're a bit further along. Once again, and painted up. And of course, now I'm looking for extra components in my bits boxes to make a really cool looking Chaos Lord. Right? No sorcerers or anything. That I need a nice big Chaos Lord to lead them. You know, there's a fallen chapter master or a fallen captain who's now pledged themselves completely. The orc skin video did quite well for a noob. Oh man, that was a good one. You did really well on the orc skin for that one, man. You did really well. That was a good video, and the skin looks fantastic. Looks really, really good. Cleaning off my brush. Yeah, but like I said, inspiration. That's what we talk about. So the other thing that inspired me is we're on the 10th edition now. It's coming out very shortly. I think it's late June. We're getting it. So that's inspired me to look at my armies again. Obviously, I still have some Primaris to paint through. The Leviathan box set, I definitely want to get my hands on that if I'm going to be able to, depending on, you know, availability. And scalpers now, as if, honestly, serious question here, did you ever think when it came to Warhammer 40,000 product, we'd have to worry about scalpers? Like that, that was something for like concert tickets and big, event tickets and sports game tickets. Did you ever think you'd actually be sitting there going, man, I have to watch out for 40K scalpers now? Like, people are scalping starter sets and collector sets. I never thought that would ever be a thing we'd have to ever worry about being this hobby. I mean, obviously it's going more mainstream. I saw a picture today from one of the guys on the in one of the chat rooms I'm in there, the chats, from a Schwarzenegger movie, Foo Bar. There's a Space Marine standee in the back of one of them. So I haven't seen the series, but it's everywhere, right? I guess we're getting big enough, mainstream enough now that we're we have to worry about that. But I digress. 10th edition, obviously there's all this new stuff. I love all the models from Leviathan. It also made me think, inspired me, okay, 10th edition, we've had the same armies, you have little things here and there that you've been working on for years, but let's do something that's specifically designed for 10th. And thus the Coronate, Rage Curse army was born. Unfortunately, scalpers are everywhere. When I click Star Wars figures, they do the exact same thing. Bulk and buy. Yeah, I've seen that. And that's unfortunately not just scalpers. I've seen that at a local... there's some stores in the town I live at that do that, a flea market type thing. And you can clearly tell they've gone and bought stuff at a Walmart or what have you. And they've just put it to stock their shelves. Of course, they've increased the price, right? They'll buy it. It's unfortunate, but I just never thought scalpers were something we would have to deal with in 40K. I never would have thought that. I mean, I've seen on eBay years ago where someone would slightly overvalue something because they thought it was worth that much, and eventually, or something, well, man, you're asking full price for something you've already opened and painted and not very well. I'm not paying full price for it, right? Some people just don't understand the value of what they have, or they over or undervalue it, right? But for scalpers, right, you go on to sites now, and something that was $120 is now like $400 because they can ask that. People buy it. Pro painted, man. Oof. Never ever say your stuff's pro painted. People will look at you weird right from the get-go. I've seen it. It's not... I've seen propane stuff, but some of it's been a little... Eesh. All right, so now I'm going to put on the next coating on the armor here. Just trying to pick up the raised edges a bit more here. Kind of want this to look chaosy, but also a little haphazard, because these guys are not guys I'd want. They're not really going to be caring too much about painting armor. Maybe someone's doing it for them. Maybe it's naturally just turning red to show their affinity to the blood god. Yeah, pro painted. Oof. See enough pro painted models to make me want to gouge my own eyes out. But yeah, so that's my inspiration for this, to do something new, to take an idea from something I read and go, let's run with it. Let's see where we can take this and see where it ends up. Yeah, this is gonna look good. So I'm gonna get the back of this helmet a bit, and then get the backpack a tiny bit. Now, a lot of this backpack is actually going to be silver. There's going to be a lot of silver on these models once it's all said and done. I like this one. I found an old... I don't know if you can see it now, but there's it's a shoulder pad, just a big skull in the middle, and the trim is actually made out of bone. That's all going to be silver. Again, going back to the inspiration thing, it's inspired by some of the paint jobs they've done for the current World Eaters armies that they've put out. Lots of red and lots of brass, or lots of silver. It's the other one, lots of silver. So I may end up doing... I'm just going to actually take a look at that. Maybe I'm misthinking that. Let's see here. I go. Let's see. World Eaters. World Eaters. World Eaters. See what they've got for their painting style here. Yeah, they've gone for some brass. Maybe I'll do some dark brass instead, but a lot of the metals can be picked out just in fully in brass. A lot of the trim. So that should be fun. But I'm actually liking this, and I don't think I have to do too much else to it. I think once it's all done, now it's a little hard to see right there. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see the red there. Came out really nicely though. A bit dark. I got to work on my lighting. But yeah, so once that's all done up, then I can go on to the details, get some brass in there, some silver on the weapons, clean up the bolt pistol a little bit there. A lot of this back here will be on the backpack, will be brass and some silver there to kind of break it up, but very, very basic. I don't want to get too into the details. I just want to get it done, get it finished. Yeah, and then see what they're like. Obviously, I don't think I've ever had a Chaos Army. No, I've had an Orc Army at one point, 13th Company Space Wolves Army. That was cool. Marines. Have my Agents of the Imperium downstairs, my Eldari or Yanari or Drakari, depending how I want to build them. Yeah, I've never had a Chaos Army, so it'd be cool to do this, especially one that's a mixture of models. Now, I don't think it's going to be as easy to mix the new stuff because a lot of it is, monopose. It is the way it is, so it's going to be a bit more difficult to mix together. But I think I can still do it if I can get my hands on some older kits like another box of Tactical Marines. They still have all their. Doing Predators and Rhinos is pretty simple. They still have those. I'll definitely want to add in some of the new Demon engines. Obviously, stuff that's flocked or been incorporated into these once proud chapters. Now that they've gone fully Khorne and Chaos. But yeah, so I like that red. That came out really well. It's easy. It's quick. It's going to look nice. Again, the 3-foot standard. It's going to look nice on the tabletop when it's all done up. But yeah, so I want to go. Now I actually want to check to see. Let's see here. Let's see what colors I think they used for those guys. It's almost like a gold on those guys, but we saw them as being more brass than gold. Use tin bits maybe. I'll have to test that out. Again, what's the other thing? I'm using this model to sort of inspire what my next steps will be in the army, right? Inspiration is fun because you can kind of use it to sort of inspire the next step that you're going on. Inspiration is always good. I'm always taking inspiration as well from videos I've watched and some of the other creators out there, and the stuff that they're doing. Ooh, my tin bits is low. All right, we're abandoning the tin bits one. I don't have any tin bits anymore. So, abandon that particular avenue. And I could go for the silver. I could try and go for my Retributor armor. So I do Retributor armor, Niagara Earthshade on it. That might work. That might darken it down enough so I can. That's watery. It's so watery. So I'll take this, mix this up together. Here we go. And we'll just touch up some of the bone here and see how that looks. So get a shoulder pad down here really quick. Nice. And we'll get the skull done too. And we'll go from there. But yeah, I'll ask again because some of you guys weren't here. What inspired you? What's the big thing? What's one of the big inspirations for your army or armies you've had in the past, or maybe a color scheme or a particular theme you stuck in your army? Right, I saw their White Dwarf, but what was another big inspiration for you? What's something that you went, wow, I got to do that? That's something I have to have on there. All right. Okay, so leave me hanging here. Give me something. All right. So that's one shoulder pad with the base gold. I'll do the trim on this one. I think it's going to be cool to have a nice mixture of armor types on here. You got the nice Imperial armor with smooth, simple, direct lines, and then of course chaos with all the spikes and weirdness all over the place. Yeah. We got a little gold in here. So there we go. Getting a little gold on the inside of this as well. There you go. Some gold on there. See the big skull. And get some skulls painted up here. There's a few extra skulls on this guy. Wouldn't mind getting them painted up looking. Some gold done up here. That's looking good there. All right, a little bit of gold here and there doesn't looks good. The red and gold always seems to go well together. I don't want to overdo it though either. Even if this is a inspiring champion, I kind of want to keep it down a bit. Just to touch on it, as I'm painting at the moment, I started the Gazgo book. I was painting it made me really enjoy painting the model. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, the audio books are always a good inspiration as well. Anything that kind of gets you into the mood, anything inspires you to be creative, obviously, is a good thing. So yeah, I am liking this so far. The other one thing I want to do, is use some lead belcher. So that being said, maybe listening to something about the models or army working on helps motivate maybe even lore. Yeah, the lore is always good. I mean, I know some people are all about just the competitive side. They take their army to obviously it's aesthetically pleasing, a play style that they like, but then yeah, that's not always enough. There's always room for a little bit more in there, I think. Right now I'm actually working on this, got a chainmail sort of tabard here on this KS Space Marine. And paint that up too. It's going to break up some of the red. Of course, I'm not going to leave it nice and shiny. This is not a good Space Marine. This is a once loyal son of the Emperor who's now gone completely off his rocker. So, oh shit. Got some stuff on the leg there. I gotta get that off. Get out of there. Damn it. It's not what I wanted. Okay. No, that's always a good point though. The lore is always, like I said, it's good to have good to get it to. It's a way to inspire you to build your army. That's why, I mean, they throw stuff in there all the time. Like I said, I hope that they bring back those timelines, because those are great. Because it's a great way to fight a war over. If your friends are, hey man, we should come up with a crusade idea or campaign idea, or you like the particular build of an army. I don't like name dropping all the time, but that's why I like Lexicanum. I know they're tied in with Bell Lost Souls, and that's not everybody's cup of tea. I don't particularly like the website myself, but Lexicanum is great because there's so much fluff, so much stuff in there, and then when they do like the big battles, they have a breakdown of the armies, and if you ever want to try something cool, or you want to build a specific force to represent one of the armies at that time, that's what it's really good for. All right, so I'm gonna just paint up. I don't know. Maybe I'll do some more gold on. It's got like almost like a utility belt here. That's gold, so I'm gonna actually paint that up gold as well, just to add a bit more gold and make him stand out a bit more as the leader of this particular frothing band of psychopaths. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I'm happy with that. So now, what we're going to do, some more trim. You know what? We're going to go in there, some trim, very fine detailed trim on the gloves here. I'm going to cover that up with some gold too, just to... Inspiration comes from everybody, even others like this army you're doing is inspiration. I'm excited to see it. Well, thank you very much. That is, at the end of the day, one of the main goals. That's exactly something I was going to get to. You beat me to it. Damn it, man. One of the main goals I had, even going back, although I didn't say it in such a big word like inspiration, one of the main goals I had way back in the day was, especially when I went in for my interview before I even started working Games Workshop, was because I wanted to share it with people. I had so much fun and so much enjoyment from it that I want to share with people. I want to have the same level of fun, enjoyment. And so that was one of my main inspirations for working for Games Workshop, was to inspire other people. And one of the main driving forces, although I've forgotten it a few times over the years I've been doing this, even in the small way that I've done it, was to inspire people, was to have someone go, oh man, that's awesome, I want to do that, that was so fun, thank you. I don't even want the thank you, I just want the someone to go, oh, that was so awesome, and then do it and gain enjoyment and have fun with it. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what all this is about. Like if you're just going, I'm doing it just for myself, you're really cheating yourself out of a great experience because you're too busy just going, right? I'm just getting some gold on this line here. Some really fine details. This is some old plastic here too, right? This is the old school Chaos Space Marine body parts. Not talking new stuff. It was old stuff here. But we gotta do what we gotta do. I want it to look good. I want it to look really good. So, what else should we do gold? See, I also like, again, inspiration. I've got the I have the images here of the some of the legionaries. I like looking at these against inspiration to see where they put their gold paint, where they did their thing, right? And obviously they've got images of the Black Legion here. I'm obviously not doing that, but it's cool to try and, again, be inspired by someone else's work and enjoyment. It's always good. But yeah, no. And then on to 10th, because 10th is one of the big inspirations for this. What do you guys, after everything we've seen, leaked rules, all the stuff the Games Workshop's put out, how they've changed up the data slates, how they've changed up the way the weapons are work, all putting universal special rules back in. What is your take on 10th at this point? I mean, obviously, we still have lots to see. There's still tons of stuff we have to be exposed to. What do you guys think? Is 10th you think 10th is going to be a bit of gold, or are we putting too much hope into it? What do you guys think? Oh, let me get the skull in the back of that. That should be gold too. Why not? Yeah, that should be gold too. Make it stand out a bit more. Oh, there's a little bit of gold there, but I want to make sure I clean up those chaosy arrows there on the bolt pistol. Clean that up afterwards. We're going to go over with some black to clean up. Luckily for me, I haven't had a huge amount of games, so I feel I can adapt to it. Yeah. I don't think there's going to be that much adapting. They've moved things around, but just reading through the rules, everything seems to be very similar. Obviously, there's some significant changes, but the game still flows the same way. Still rolling to hit, to wound, and they've added some new stuff, cleaned up some stuff. But yeah, I think it should be pretty easy to adapt to in the long run. Now, one gold above the shoulder, is that enough? Don't know what to say. Damn it. All right. So there's a whole bunch of gold. I know it's kind of hard to see, but there's a nice chunk of gold on him now. I'll let that dry up a bit. And after that, we'll throw some Agrax Earthshade on it. Really darken it down. And then maybe do some line highlighting. With the same gold color. Maybe some silver on it. I don't know. It's hard to say. But yeah. No, if I've inspired at least even one, I know I've inspired a few people. I've had people tell me I inspired them, which I think in the end is something we all kind of want to do. All right, we want to entertain, we want to talk to people, but we also want to inspire someone. If I've inspired anybody, I hope it's something that helped them out and made them want to enjoy this the way I have. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, that's what this whole rigmarole was really always about. But yeah, so we'll let that dry up, and then we'll put some Agrax Earthshade on there, because that'll darken it down. Because I don't want this guy to be too shiny. I'm also kind of, again, inspired by going for the whole grim dark. You know, I like my marine armor over the years. My Ultramarine armor has gotten darker, because you know it is supposed to be the grim dark. When what edition, when fourth ed came out and they changed the way that the Ultramarines looked, gone were the red bolters, the red chain swords, the bright yellow trim, the bright blue armor, and they sort of made it a bit darker. The bolt gun casing went to black, the chainsword went to black, right? Um, you know, I like that. It seemed a bit darker. Third edition was always very bright, tons of colors. Everything was really bright, which is great. You know, you want that on the battlefield. You want things to be noticeable. But in terms of the feel of the grim dark, just I'm pleased to say that quite a few people were inspired by painting orc skin. So I hope to continue, especially since it looks like, well, it won't be ghouls per se, but you know, with the old world coming back, and one of the big things we're going to be seeing is the Tomb Kings. Hopefully, won't be too many ghouls in there. There still is some flesh in there on some of the creatures, right? Lots of bones, lots of mummified stuff. We'll see, but that'd be good. Ghoul vampire. Actually, that's a cool thing. What do you guys think of the old world? Obviously, it's not making as big waves as obviously 10th edition is, but you know, to see they put up a listing of the armies that are going to be active in the narrative they're trying to tell, and some you know, obviously the Bretonia, the is going to be there. The Tomb Kings, we've already seen that. I might need to paint up some Tomb Kings. I'll give me more. Yeah, okay, go for it. Obviously, Bretonia, the Tomb Kings. We also saw that the Empire will be there. The Dwarf Holds, the High Elves, and the Wood Elves are under the good banner. Evil was the Tomb Kings, Orcs and Goblins, Chaos Warriors, and the Brayherds. So only 4 on that side. Brayherds, Chaos, Orcs and Goblins. Yeah. I've always wanted Wood Elves army. Yeah, it was a pretty cool army back in the day. I remember a lot of sprites and the tree kin and all that, which are really cool. It's cool that they put those armies in. It just, there's a lot, like the Skaven aren't there. The vampire counts, demons are gone. Ogres aren't prevalent. Now, apparently they are putting out army lists for those armies so people can still grab their models off their shelves and get into playing. They just won't have a significant part, in the actual narrative of the game. They're going to be, they had reasoning. So Skavens are in the middle of their own civil wars. They've gone underground. That's why everybody thinks they're a myth. It's supposed to take place something like a couple of decades before the original invasion of Chaos in the war at Prague. So the Chaos's power is ebbing very low, and the Chaos warbands are still there. Is 100 years? Yeah, it's supposed to be something like 200 years before the end times, right, or something like that. So it's a good chunk of time before the old world is destroyed. So yeah, there's no chaos demons in the narrative. There's no the ogres haven't made their way over yet. The vampire counts, all the von Karsteins are dead at this point, as dead as a vampire can be without actually being completely destroyed. So Sylvania is quiet. The dead, while restless, are not. They're not ready to burst forth. Nagash is still imprisoned. The Tomb Kings are there. But yeah, so a lot of the armies just aren't prevalent for this narrative. I think this narrative is going to be about sort of the area around the empire, right? They mention, the empire itself is riven by civil war. There's no emperor. So the Elector Counts are fighting each other for dominance. The Orcs and Goblins are moving. The Dwarf holds are there. They didn't mention much about the Dwarves or the Wood Elves. The High Elves are messing about in human business. Bretonia, again, they didn't mention, obviously, if they're looking at maybe start a set with Bretonia and the Tomb Kings, maybe it's an errantry crusade that's gone out, or I mean, that's a beautiful thing. They can kind of do whatever they want as long as it sort of fits into what the narrative later on, but also brings up some cool ideas for what type of characters we'll see. If they've got the High Elves, we could see new sculpts for Teclis and Telian. They obviously they'd be around. The Dark Elves are also not in there because they're again, they've been defeated, or there's the reasons are kind of okay. We just don't want them there, so they're being quiet right now, right? But Teclis and Talion could be there. Any of the High Elf characters could come back in this. Same with any of the Wood Elf characters. Elves are pretty much immortal age-wise. Yeah. As for Bretonia, we won't see. We could see the Green Knight return. Obviously, he's been there forever. Other than that, it'll be brand new characters. The Empire will be brand new characters. And depending on just how old, like you'd have to go back and look at things like Thorn Grudgebearer, some of their characters. You could see a few dwarf characters returning, maybe. For Chaos, obviously, probably there won't be any Archeon. I don't think he'd be around yet. Most of the Chaos characters probably won't be there yet. They'd be hadn't even been born yet. No Vulcan for the Empire. All those characters won't be around yet. Orcs and Goblins, again, they could that would be coming up with brand new characters. Same with the Bray Herds. Same with Warriors of Chaos. The demons. Again, they will have a list for the demons, so you can still have a Chaos or Demons of Chaos over the list they call it for it. But they won't actually have a place in the narrative. They're just not. Chaos isn't that powerful yet that they can start popping up all over the place. I'm sure there will be options in the Chaos, wherever Warriors of Chaos book comes out for that. We may be able to summon a unit or two like the good old days, but yeah, I think this will. I think this is going to be leading towards that first big war, the first big Chaos invasion, right? That it's going to be leading towards that particular thing. Eventually sort of set up what will be the inevitable battle between good and evil. That evil will eventually win no matter what. It is kind of cool to know how it's going to end and the valiant struggles of the peoples. The other thing, there's not going to be lizard men. Obviously, there will again be a list, but I don't think they're going to have a place in the narrative. At this point, they'll still be slumbering away or doing whatever they're doing on Lustria and not really concerning themselves too much with the problems of men and dwarves and elves. And right, Chaos really hasn't shown itself prevalently in a while, so it's going to be they'll be quiet. Guess it makes sense because Lizardmen are based here to destroy Chaos. Exactly, that's their job. Their plan. The plan as they can interpret it was from the old ones, and a lot of it is centralized around the battle against Chaos, which really isn't happening. It'll be cool to see just how they will develop things like the Empire, an Empire 200 years before the end times. There's no Emperor, just Elector Counts being, Elector Counts. Elector Counts are, sniveling. Not all of them. Some of them are quite mad later on. Some of them are underhanded, much like politicians today. Some are courageous and valiant, unlike any politician today. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. was cool to see how they have Bretonia too, and we know Lewin Leonco, he won't be around yet, but the Green Knight, I think the Green Knight, maybe there. It'll be cool to see how they develop this, see where they just decide to go. I don't know. I mean, obviously we've also seen work for things like what was it? Cathay. That's it, Cathay. Now, I know there was a bunch of artwork that came out the same time as Total War 3 did when they showed off Cathay, and I'm assuming people thought that may be in the game as well. At this point, I don't know. They're not mentioned. Cathay never really had much of anything to do with the original version of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. It was mentioned. It was there. They did talk about elementals and dragons and all that. The ogres obviously had dealings with Cathay because you would see there was one that looked like there was one of their mercenary units, the one that looked like a ninja, one that looked like a samurai. There's also some Chinese elements in their army, which is cool, but it was not something I'd be keen on Kislev. Kislev's far to the north. And while I think there'll be Chaos Warriors, they obviously present, Kislev, I don't think at this point. Prague itself hasn't even been destroyed at this point, and that's even further north. If I can, see, I'm gonna bring up I'm gonna look this up. Map of Hammer Fantasy. Let's see here. Because now I'm interested in knowing where everything is. Let's see here. Let's get a good one. Now that's one of Bretonia. That's not what I want. I want a better one. Let's see here. So yeah, we got the Empire there. And then Kislev. All right, so the Empire. I know you can't see it. Like the Empire is sort of central in the let's see here. They have a map of their own here. I know they did put one out with everything on it. Yeah, there it is. So you've got, there it is, the first look at the map. So yeah, there's Bretonia. Bretonia was always near the coast. And the Wood Elves were in Athalloran down south near the mountain ranges and on. There's a big mountain range. It almost acts like a border. So if you look at it, you have the Empire up here. If you're looking at it from your, and Bretonia is over here. There's a mountain range that kind of cuts in between and goes underneath. Athalloran's down here. Right? Down here. And then the Isles kind of are on, they have their own island and they're sort of interfering through the south. The Empire's up here, and then Kislev, I'm trying to get this confused. Empire's up here, Kislev's over here, and Prague, I think, is up here. Look at the old one here. Yeah, you've got Bretonia, and then west from there, east from there is the Empire. There's Altdorf. Kislev's up here. All right. And then, of course, you got Norska up north and Albion. It'd be cool to see Albion. Now, of course, you've got the Darklands. Those mountains that kind of cut in between the Empire and Bretonia also stretch out around the Empire and form like the mountain, and that's usually where the dwarves are. Karak, then the Deadlands where the ogres are, and then, of course, even further east is Cathay. And then you got Ulthuan over there, and sort of that Atlanta style thing. And of course, next says Nagaroth, right? And then, of course, then you've got Arabian Land of the Dead to the south, right? And that's where, so I could see stuff happening in sort of the Badlands in between the mountains of the Border Princes and Kemri. There's a whole bunch of space in there. Kislev, would be cool to see Kislev. Close all this stuff down. Yeah. I just want to paint polar bears. Yeah, that was cool. I remember when was it? What was the character? Was it Boris? There was the Empress who was on her horse, and then there was another guy, one of the other leaders, a big guy, huge sword. He was on a giant polar bear, which trust me, very cool. There's nothing wrong with a guy being a giant polar bear. Always cool to have. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. So a bit of a tangent there, but I think a cool one. Again, hopefully, to get back to the main point, that will inspire people to get back into that. I think Games Workshop realized what they kind of gave up when they decided to destroy the old world and get the Age of Sigmar and the Mortal Realms and all that. It's definitely big news for them. It is big news for them. I'm kind of glad that they're sticking with the square bases. It's cool to see. I was looking at the article and they were updating it to see square bases and rank and file troops like that. I always kind of like the separation between the two. Fantasy, it kind of gave them their own setting. Fantasy was, rank upon rank of these troops, right? All boxed in, and it was all about the movement. And 40K was about a bit more mobility. You can go through buildings easier. It's more urban and obviously more modern. I don't know. I like the separation. I get why Games Workshop did shut down the fantasy line originally, because it just wasn't selling, and you can only kind of keep selling the same parts before someone goes, okay, I've got 2,000, I've got 3,000 points worth of whatever Empire army or High Elf or Dark Elf or Chaos, and because the model count was so much higher than it was for 40K, people didn't have as many fantasy armies as compared to the amount of people who had multiple 40K armies, right? I know people talk about, guard in 9th, you should have at least like 120 infantry, and and that would be a good chunk of the army. Whereas, you took 120 infantry for like an Empire army, and that was barely anything. You that was you could have a couple units of spearmen being 20 deep, right? On each one you could have 4 rows of 5, and that's just your spearmen. And of course you have to have a couple units of swordsmen, and then I've got to have a couple units of handgunners. So there's like 20, 40, 60, 80, right? 100, 120 already, and that's barely the beginning of an army. It's still not enough. And on top of that, now you have to add, you need to add knights, and there's another 10 models. And then of course you want to have some skirmishing units, so there's another 20 models. And then, I got to have a couple cannons in the back, right? And then I need I got to have my characters. And then so it would be orcs and goblins, another one where you have like a unit of 40 guys, and that's one unit, right? And you have like 4 of them, right? So it was massive stuff. So I get why they tried to cut it down. The Age of Sigmar armies are generally smaller than the fantasy armies were back in the day. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how they decide to do the game. If they, I think they'll probably want people to get their armies back out. And they've kind of upped the base size for everybody. I'm not sure I know they said it's going up a bit more because they want a bit more space on each base for the models, so they can be a bit more dynamic. That was always a problem with fantasy back in the day. Getting characters into units was always a bit fun, and they always kind of had the same sort of models seemed very, I don't know if it's the right word, but tight. Lots of arms going up, lots of stuff going forward. Very rare, or both arms up like this, but never really going beyond the edge of the base. Because you wanted things to be able to pack in around them. If you ever went over, now all of a sudden, well, that's a bit difficult, because now your character has to be put on the edge, and that can lead to differences in combat. And You kind of want them to be central in the unit. It was easy for some, like a guy on a horse would just be over the horse with his sword out or arms up or something, right? But it led to some weird things. Like I remember at one point I had an Empire army, and I had it was never a big army, but I had what was it? I had a sorcerer on horseback, or a wizard on horseback, and he was, he was the wood one, and he's got one arm up like this, and he had a staff. Instead of trying to put the staff out here, it actually tucked under his arm like it was almost like it was a lance, right? Because if they tried to put it out like this, it could interfere with the knight next to him, and they had the other arm up sort of like this, right? I had I picked up a lone great sword leader again. This is back in the day when your blisters were filled with mostly just filled with upgrades to units. You had a big great sword up in one hand, and you had a scroll in the other hand. Again, it was very tight. The arms were down or straight up because you didn't want anything overlapping into the guy behind you or next to you, right? Very rare to have anybody doing this, right? Because all of a sudden you have to move them. So the army may be facing forward, but they're facing this way. So you could get that sword out, right? It was very rare. Even a lot of the orc stuff was set up so if a character had their arm out, even if they're facing this way, they were sort of facing forward like this, right? Or arms were up like this. So it was very easy to put them in those rank and file. But yeah, I just paint him up as like a hero, right? They had Lord choices, hero, core, special, rare, and all that. But I always gave him the armor of, we called it idiotic iron. It was the armor of meteor iron. It was a 1+ armor save. Of course, you never actually have 1+ armor save, but it allowed you to get those reductions in armor and still have a valuable armor save. So that's all dried up now. That's pretty good. I like the gold on there. So now I take just a wee bit of, where'd it go? Looking for it. That's not it. That's not it. There it is. Stormhost Silver. Why aren't you opening? Are you new? You should not be opening it. There it is. Nope. I want chainmail. Still some chainmail. I don't open that up if I don't have to. Don't want to open that up if I don't have to. Again, going back to the inspiration thing, I think they're going to be they've taken some inspiration from old issues and old problems to rectify them earlier on. So all being said, are you going to build an army for old world, and who? Excellent question. Maybe. I do have some Empire troops, and again, they're old school Empire troops. So I do have some Empire troops. I could start around that. Although I played Empire for a bunch of fantasy, and while I was almost a sharpshooter with their cannons, because the cannon those were pretty good. I don't know if I would do an Empire army. I am tempted to a Bretonian army. Now, I don't know exactly how they're going to. I'm seriously thinking of humans. Yeah, man. Yeah, the Empire's cool. Again, depending on the Bretonian Empire never got heavily, but always wanted high elves or what else. Well, they're both there. They both have some cool stuff. The Empire's cool. Again, I'm speaking on the old version of the game. Empire had a ton of troop choices, a ton of just units, whether it was spearmen or swordsmen, halberdiers, handgunners, crossbowmen, militia, your knights, outriders. They had things like your Griffin Knights later on and a whole bunch of other stuff. Your wizards, your black powder the cannons, the hellfire launchers, your steam tank. All very cool stuff and lots of options. And the armies work. The units could work well together. Bretonians, on the other hand, you had your questing knights. You had your your straight up just regular knights. You had lots of your yeomen, your men at arms, your trebuchet. Obviously, it was more crusade oriented, so no black powder for them. Obviously, your damsels with their magic from the Lady of the Lake. I say trebuchet. We had someone back in the day at one of our stores asked for the Bretonnian tree bucket. And we were confused, like, what? What's a tree bucket? What are you talking about? What tree bucket? Oh, the thing that launches the... Oh, the trebuchet. No, we don't have that here. We never could keep it in stock. Oh, that was a big, beefy metal model back in the day. Heavy, man. Yeah, they had. And then we had what you call the flying circus, where you can build an army filled of knights on Pegasus, which is really cool. We call it the flying circus, right? Yeah, and the high elves. The high elves are cool too. Lots of really good units, lots of good leadership, really cool magic. The wood elves, again, lots of skirmishing units. One thing I thought of dragons. I love how many dragons. But yeah, there weren't that many dragons back in the day. There were dragons. There's a lot more dragons now in Age of Sigmar, or dragon-like things, especially for the Stormcast. There was not that many dragons. For the Empire, there really wasn't. Over the years, they did add some. The High Elves had a dragon or two you could use. You could get a good there. The Empire got a dragon. The Wood Elves had a dragon too. You could get a dragon in there. They weren't that many though, right? The Wood Elves had them. High Elves. There's a zombie dragon. Chaos had Galrock, which is just one dragon. Yeah, the undead zombie, the vampire counts, as they were known back in the day, could have a zombie dragon. Yeah. Well, again, I would call what Archaon's riding on in Age of Sigmar a multi-headed dragon, but it's definitely a giant dragon thing. Yeah, the orcs had their own they had a sort of wyvern thingy, which was kind of like a dragon, but obviously they wanted to differentiate it a bit. Dragons are cool. I mean, again, depending on how they want to go with it. The Tomb Kings didn't have any sort of dragony stuff. They had all the scarab this and undead that, so they had their own things. I am interested to see what they do with what they did back in the day. Yeah, they were. I loved them as a kid. Yeah, they were good sculpts. They were really good sculpts. I want to see what they do sort of with the undead. There was always a weakness with the undead because you could raise up units. So you definitely want to do your best to kill, your necromancers, your vampires, your tomb king, whatever. So there was a lord or some sort of whatever their version of necromancer is. I can't remember. But once they started dying off, your units, whether it was skeletons, whether it was the vampire count skeletons or ghouls, or your bowmen or your rank and file guard there for the Tomb Kings would start falling apart. And I don't know. I wonder if they'll do something like that again, because that was always really cool to, you be going up against Vampire Cut's army, and all of a sudden there was a unit of skeletons, and all of a sudden a unit of zombies would pop up here, and a unit of zombies would pop up here, and a unit of zombies would pop up here, and you're like, oh my lord. And then you're like, I'm in a lot of trouble, but then you'd get lucky, and your knights would charge into the unit that had the necromancer, and you'd kill them off. And all of a sudden the units would start falling apart, which is nice. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to try and do some highlighting on this gold here, just to make it pop a little bit. All right, because you still want it to look good, even though it's chaosy. Still want it to look good. So I'm going to just take a very little bit here. That's a little too wet. I'm just gonna touch a few places here. It's gonna be hard to see. I'll have to take a picture afterwards later on and let you guys see what I got up to with this. I just want to kind of hit the edges. I don't want to do too much because I don't want it to overwhelm. But I always found that if you're painting up gold, highlight the edges with silver, because gold seems to shine a bit silvery when light hits it a particular way. And so that's what I've always found. I'm just going to touch some places here just to make it pop a little bit, not too much. Just on some raised areas here. Just a little bit. That's the ticket. There you go. I know. Oh, that looks good. That looks very good. I know it's hard to see. I'm going to put a picture up later on, but I don't know. I think that looks really good. I like the silver on there. It's kind of popping in all the right spots. So once I clean up this certain areas I didn't actually want red, to bolter and put some more silver on there, paint up the horns of some sort of bone thing. I think it'll come together looking nicely. So we have a once loyal son of the Emperor who has been twisted to Khorne and chaos by the murder curse of one Angry Ron there. I am actually very happy with how that turned out. I'm very happy. But yeah. And I hope, chatting about inspiration has inspired the people who come on here to watch as we're talking about it. I think if we as hobbyists can inspire future hobbyists, we'll all be in good hands. We inspire them to be entertaining and have fun and share it and be passionate about it. Even the smallest ways, I think that's always a beautiful thing. But I am going to end it there, guys, because it's getting late. I appreciate everyone who commented, who came on, who hit the like button. Hopefully this did inspire you. Hopefully, whether you're hopping into 10th edition or you're going to hop back into the old world in the new game, I hope it's a lot of fun for you. I hope you guys get inspired by the fluff, the stories, the new sculpts, the new models. And I'll see you guys around. So as always, I'll see you around next time, guys. Keep rolling those dice. And I will see you later. Bye.